They secure the product, and we deliver to either 1 to 15 dispensaries in one day.
So we are joined by Ari Raptis, the CEO of Talaria Transportation. Ari, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Doing excellent. Thank you for having me today.
So I think this is a really interesting topic, and especially I think it's interesting because this really wasn't a thing, not that many years ago, and we'll get into all the aspects of that. But I think I can start with just a general question about your company and exactly what you do.
Awesome. Yeah. So Talaria is the largest secure logistics provider for the cannabis industry in the United States. We specialize in the transportation of medical and recreational cannabis products, as well as cash payments. Our mission is to provide safe, compliant, and efficient logistics solutions for this highly regulated industry. Since our launch, we've set the standard for security and professionalism, transporting over 1.5 billion worth of cannabis annually. We are the trusted partners for cultivators, dispensaries, and other stakeholders in the cannabis supply chain. With a track record of zero losses in 7 years, our focus is always on the protecting of the products, the businesses, and ultimately the patients and consumers who rely on them.
Yeah, we've got plenty, obviously, of listeners who haul precious cargo, interesting things. This one in particular, again, I think it's of interest because it is, relatively new, right? When you look at the history of transportation, can you kind of walk me through the origin story here? I suspect, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I suspect it started around the time we saw states legalizing medical marijuana and then recreational marijuana. Is that right?
Well, that's it. Talaria launched in 2017, shortly after Pennsylvania legalized the medical marijuana program. And at that time, there was a glaring gap in the industry for secure logistics and transportations. And we saw an opportunity to create a business and address that need.
So was that, launching something like that from the ground up, essentially, right? I imagine there are some correlations, some links there to the armored truck industry, I would imagine. But what did that look like when you were building this up? You saw a need there, obviously, necessity being the mother of invention and all that. But what was that process like? I imagine it was full of kind of ups and downs. I assume you learned quite a few things along the way.
Well, we were one of the front runners in the space of secure logistics. We were able to develop that invisible infrastructure from day one for the cannabis industry. There was no transporter of product in Pennsylvania when we first started, so we were able to establish kind of the standard operating procedures and the right way to conduct business. So framing out the initial start of our business was challenging. Coming from the hospitality space, we knew how to treat our customers right. But actually transporting and establishing the transportation bylaws and SOPs is something, it was a learning curve, especially in the beginning. But it was a quick learning curve because we grew from one state to 30 states, and we've grown significantly over the past 7 years.
This industry, I mean, burgeoning industry, I mean, it's growing at a rapid pace, obviously, but it does rely on companies like yours, obviously, to stay in business, to get their product and get things moving there. How does it work? Can you kind of walk me through maybe a typical day for Talaria Transportation, what that looks like for your drivers, what that looks like in terms of delivering the product and bringing it back and forth? Kind of walk me through that if you would.
Yeah, so we provide that core transportation need that any industry provides, whether it's beer, liquor, or pharmaceuticals. We provide that secure logistics between point A to point B. So for Talaria, we are a vendor of the cultivators or the manufacturers that develop the cannabis. We in turn send our retired law enforcement officers and team members that are all our team members are all retired law enforcement. We send them to the cultivators and dispensaries. They pick up the product, they secure the product, and we deliver to either 1 to 15 dispensaries in one day. And we're able to help the wheels of the industry move and put product on the shelves on a daily basis. We also are initiating a kind of a 3PL service where we'll be warehousing the product. So a cultivator and manufacturer will be able to store the product with us in certain markets, certain states that it is legal. warehouse the product with us in certain states. And as the orders come in, we're able to fulfill that either same day or next day delivery on behalf of the brands that we're transporting for.
I'm curious, and you mentioned different security aspects there a couple times, in the past few minutes you have. I imagine security is one of your biggest concern, if not the biggest concern, considering, again, the industry that you're working in here. And you mentioned you've got former law enforcement that are actively engaged in operations there. The safety of your workers, the safety of your product, um, what challenges? I imagine there are many, but what challenges are there in hauling a product like marijuana that I'm sure the criminals would, love to get their hands on out there?
Right? And you knocked it right on the head. Theft is one of the largest challenges, and we're happy to say that we've had zero thefts or losses in the past 7 years since the inception of our company. And what makes us uniquely successful on that comes from the combination of innovation, security, professionalism. We use unmarked vehicles to ensure discretion, pair all transports with two drivers for accountability, and exclusively employ only retired law enforcement and military professionals that have the special training to mitigate any type of risk. They say 90% of thefts come from an inside job, and we mitigate that from the type of employees that we hire.
I'm curious too, and we kind of can maybe look at the big picture here, but cargo theft is at all-time highs, and I'm sure you're in tune with everything that's going on there and keeping up to date on it. But is there maybe a correlation or a lesson maybe that could be learned from other carriers out there? Maybe they're not hauling, this particular product, but they could be hauling any number of things. Um, are there things out there that you see that you think, oh, the industry as a whole could maybe be doing this a little bit better in terms of keeping their product secure? Anything kind of pop out to you there? Because you clearly think about this a lot, I know.
Yeah, we like to say we're the thought leaders of the space with our footprint and how wide we go. Being in 30 states, we're the largest transporter in the country, whether it's moving product or moving cash. We move whatever we put in the back in a secure fashion. So how do you do that? One is employing the right team members, investing in your team, making sure that you hire the right people to actually transport the product. Secondly, is technology and innovation, making sure that you have the right equipment, whether it's the vehicle or whether it's the camera system or whether it's the telematics that you have in each vehicle, making sure that you have the respective proper telematics and innovation from a technology standpoint will help well round the company from a security standpoint. The other aspect too, and I emphasized this before, is us having unmarked vehicles. Whether our cars, we have anywhere between a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van to Ford Transit vans. You don't know whether it's a plumber, a contractor, or a cannabis transportation company. We like to say that we work in a discreet fashion with the right team members, and that's how we've had a stellar kind of loss history.
Yeah, it's one of these things that doesn't necessarily translate, I think, to a lot of other carriers because they're not able to do that, obviously, for a number of reasons. But it's interesting that, that it has to be that way, or it works, I guess, works best that way. Um, this may seem like a silly question or maybe even a dumb question, but, I wonder, tractor trailers, I imagine, are not part of the equation here, probably for a number of reasons.
Yeah, so our gross weight of the vehicles are under 10,000 pounds. So we work with smaller, compact vehicles that can get in and out of cities. Cannabis is expensive, but the products are small. So we're able to capitalize on not having large tractor trailers or larger vehicles, box trucks to kind of move product around.
Right. As you look to the future of this, and you've been on this from the ground floor, so I imagine you don't just think about the now, you think about the future as well quite a bit. It's kind of a two-part question, I guess, but as you look at the future of this particular industry, um, what does that look like for your company? And then as a whole, where do you think we're heading with all this? Because, it's growing at an extremely rapid pace, the industry there. What does that look like in 5, 10 years, maybe?
Yeah, so the growth opportunities for Talaria are significant. As more states legalize cannabis and markets expand, the need for secure, compliant logistics solutions will only increase. Beyond that, we're diversifying our service through our subsidiary, National Secure Transport, to not only include to also include non-cannabis clients as well, with the goal to become one of the top tier armored car companies in the US. We're also exploring technology advancements such as integrating telematics into our warehouse management systems to further streamline operations. Long term, we aim to not just grow with the cannabis industry, but also redefine what secure logistics can achieve across multiple sectors and states.
You mentioned something interesting there, the telematics part of this, because again, I'm thinking about, what you do and kind of maybe helping it translate to other areas of the trucking industry in particular. And I'm wondering, with regard to technology, as we look at things like cargo theft, what role do you see that playing as we move forward here? What kind of piques your interest? What maybe makes you think, oh, this could be used on a wider scale to keep cargo and people safe?
Integrating AI with the telematics system is what we see a lot of telematics companies doing today. So hard brakes, hard stops, video fed in. So behind my computer screen right now, I have a wall of all our vehicles. All the vehicles, I can see the drivers, see the cargo holds, see what they see. Integrating that with AI is a big component of what we're doing in 2025, and having the AI kind of work with us from a risk mitigation standpoint. Whether this car hard brake, where there's an issue with these drivers, they'll prompt our screen to say, "Hey, give these guys a call." Be Being more proactive is kind of the word of 2025 for us, and using AI along with that is super important.
The people we typically talk to have, I wouldn't even say mixed feelings about AI. They're very apprehensive and a little worried about, where it's all going, I think, especially with regard to trucking. And I think you've got a unique perspective on this. Artificial intelligence really does have the potential for really making things a lot more efficient, is the way I kind of see it. There are obviously going to be, difficulties there and challenges and things that maybe don't go quite the way that people expect to. But artificial intelligence, do you see that playing a huge role in the trucking industry as a whole here in the coming years? And what does that look like, I guess, is a better question.
Yeah, the same aspect of artificial intelligence and being able to properly track where the vehicles are and the telematics behind the trucking side. Also, how to run the vehicle more efficient, I think, is key. And any trucker, anybody in the transportation business, has to deal with a lot of variable costs along the way, whether it's an oil change or whether it's gas prices rising. How do you use the AI in your telematics to kind of help forecast your future profitability is something we're also kind of on the cutting edge of being more proactive of what actually impacts our bottom line.
How far away do you think we are with artificial intelligence? Again, we don't have to think about the entire world as a whole, but with it being more integrated in trucking into what you're doing, it sounds like you're doing a lot of it right now, but how long down the road here is it going to be, an everyday part of most of our lives, I guess?
Yeah, personally, it's all depends on the application of how you want to use it. We currently use AI in our current system, and being able to kind of help optimize our routes, better utilize our routes, put the data inside our kind of large language model to say, hey, this is the information. Tell us what we need to kind of look at in the next month or 2 months, or what happens if gas prices rise by 10%. So being more proactive on that and using artificial intelligence is important. It's here today, it's here now. It depends on how you want to use it from an application standpoint. But from a full sense, we see it happening close to the end of the year into next year. I mean, there's been a big conversation about AI and applications with the new administration that came in. So I do see the volume switch turning up on that front. A lot of red tape along applications of how it's being used today. I believe with this new administration's being cut, and I do see it moving a lot faster than we would have seen um, in general.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting times, and none of us know where we're going necessarily, but It definitely is interesting. It's interesting what you're doing as well, and I think it's you know noteworthy for people out there to know that there's something always that's something always new is popping up. So there you go. Is there anything I forgot to ask you, Ari? Anything you want to add here, maybe at the end?
Yeah, I think it's important to emphasize that Talaria is just more than just a logistics company. We're an innovator leader and we're an innovative leader in the industry that's constantly evolving. Our focus on compliance, security, and client satisfaction has allowed us to grow rapidly, and we're excited to continue setting the standard for the cannabis logistics. Our story is solving real world challenges in a way that benefits everyone in the supply chain, from cultivators and dispensaries to patients and end consumers. We're proud of what we have accomplished so far and even more excited about what's ahead of us.